Israel is hailed the startup nation, a country that continues to take a leading role in supplying innovation and technology to the rest of the world. Some of the best innovators come from Israel. Israelis love innovation. The world loves innovation. Or does it? According to this Israeli, innovation isn't as awesome as we think. Shahar Larry has spent the past 20 years working with some of the world's largest multinationals and hundreds of startups, leading innovation projects in dozens of industries. And he has failed more times than he has succeeded, much like the majority of startups do. So to tell us why innovation is not as awesome as we think and how to break through the almost impossible ecosystem, I'm going to hand it over to Shahar. Shahar, thank you so much for joining us. Now, tell us why innovation is not as awesome as people think it is.
I would love it to be as awesome as people think, and maybe a few years ago I would sing a different tune, but in recent years I've been looking at the numbers and something didn't add up. It became quite clear that the chances of succeeding become so low. I mean, if you take 1,000 pitches that innovators or entrepreneurs make to investors, around 970 of them are not going to get funded.
Wow.
So most of the people that actually start a new venture will not even get funded. If you look at the 30 that do get funded, around 2 of them will generate any return to their investors. Now, you might think, okay, maybe most of them are just bad inventions. Maybe people are inventing things that nobody needs. But the reality is that in order to have a sit down with an investor, you need to have your material prepared. It takes around 3 to 6 months to actually get a deck prepared, get an investor memorandum, briefs. Most of these inventions, and I've seen them, I've seen early stage startups, most of these inventions are well researched and with a clear market need. And yet, the reality is that the vast majority, maybe 2 out of 1,000, will actually generate some return. And for me personally, it feels like a horrible waste.
Really does sound that is incredibly dire numbers. So why is it that the failure rate is so high?
Well, we need to break it down into 2 separate stages. First of all, why do investors invest in so few pitches or startups? And investors are right to do so, because when we look further down the funnel, we realize that most of them actually fail. So investors want to get a return on their investment. So they are actually quite okay to be paranoid and be very selective about it. But even if we look at the 30 that do actually get the funding, we see that 80% of startups that got seed funding never make it to Series A. Now, the reason for that is the same reason that all businesses fail. They fail because the people that are running them are not doing a good enough job. And the reality of why that happens is because we tend to confuse innovators with entrepreneurs. Most founders are innovators. They have an invention, they have something that they want to develop. When we put them in the position of a startup, we give them millions of dollars, we give them people to hire, projects to run, marketing, sales, finance. They're not necessarily experienced in doing those things and do not have the skill set for that. And so actually, sometimes I would even think that the failure rate should have been higher, because these inexperienced entrepreneurs are required to actually develop something that they've never done before.
Right, so tell us, how do people get around this then? Because I'm sure there are plenty of innovators watching this show right now who are getting very depressed by what you're telling them now. So come on, give them a little bit of hope for us, Shahar.
So I will give them some hope. Actually, it's even worse than what I already said, because the problem many times is that the innovators themselves believe that they are also entrepreneurs. They are sold this dream that they will be these amazing business development people and they will be able to develop their business. And the reality is that they're not. But there is a solution. I am an optimist still. There are maybe 2 or 3 things that we need to do. Some of them are not new. The first thing that we need to do is we need to separate the innovation development process from the entrepreneurial process. The entrepreneurial process is a solved problem. It does not require a lot of creativity. It requires proficiency. People that know how to do that need to do that. The number of times I've seen CEOs that are innovators in their soul sit on a marketing deck, PowerPoint, financial planning, do a mediocre job at it and waste a lot of time instead of investing it in developing the innovation is just amazing. So first of all, have the innovators innovate and the entrepreneurs entreprenate.
Entreprenate.
And that's the first thing I would do. The second thing I would do is I would try to standardize the entrepreneurial process. There have been some VCs, other ventures that are trying to do this separation, but most of the problem in scaling this is that the process of developing an innovation-centric company, which is a startup, is not standardized. And then the reality is that these companies meander and make a lot of mistakes and waste a lot of time, a lot of resources. So basically, if we take the entrepreneurial side and we standardize it, and at the same time, if we don't insulate, but limit the exposure of the innovators and also their control of the actual development of the company itself, I think that we might be able to actually flip the numbers. And this is not force majeure. You know, there is possibility to innovate innovation, and we can do this better.
So I feel like after this, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be searching your name saying, come in here and flip our company and teach us how to make this work. Shahar Larry, high impact innovation and strategy professional, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sarah.
It's been a pleasure.